Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with episode 50 of the Snowflake Viewpoint. 50 episodes in, guys. How are you all doing? I hope you're doing well. Hopefully you guys saw the little banner that was across at the on the intro, guys. That is all our YouTube members, whichever level you are on. You are all on that. That took me a good 40 minutes to do. And if you guys missed your name, you can see it on the outro video as well. I'm not going to play it on constantly just because of fears of obviously it maybe lagging the CPU and all that kind of stuff, because we don't want to lag the CPU out. I'm sure you guys will understand. Ollie is here, and so is the lava lamp and the orb. They are here in all their glory. Ollie is absolutely furious with Mad Monk's comments about the music, so I'll let you guys decide on that. Maybe I'll let you guys decide what you guys honestly think of the intro music. But yeah, Ollie's not happy with that. He liked the song, but Mad Monk, one of our kind moderators, did not agree with that assessment there. Hope you all had a good weekend. Hope you all had a good weekend. It was a long one for me. I've been going at least 12 hours today on content, so hopefully I've got plenty of stuff for you guys coming up today, tomorrow, Wednesday. And I'll also, just a reminder as well, just for you guys, just before I come to you guys in live chat and the content we got today, I am going to be covering Prime Minister's questions this Wednesday at noon. So if you guys want to watch PMQs along with me and listen to my feedback on that, you're more than welcome to come and join me on that. Like I say, I don't always do Prime Minister's questions live. I'll do them like every 2 weeks or something like that. I'm not going to do it every single week. So you'll get 4 live streams from me as well as 2 premieres this week. So you're getting your fair share of content this week, guys. The live chat poll I have for you guys today is: was Trussonomics ever going to work? So that's Liz Truss ideas, and we're going to read into an article, particular with regards to Trussonomics and the crazy bat lady, the crazy lettuce lady. On was her economic plans ever going to work, guys? Is the general question. So 10 people have already casted their vote. 90% of you say no. One person is not, doesn't know what it is, which is perfect. That's why I put that bit in there if anyone wasn't 100% sure about Trussonomics there. Right, who have we got in the chat today? We've got Mad Monk, who's not happy with the music, telling everyone to like and subscribe and excuse the awful soundtrack music. Well, we can do a poll next week on if you guys want to keep that one or not. We can always do a poll on that song. One Angry Pagan is here. Good to see you, One Angry Pagan. Hope you're doing well. Caffel is here as well. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Reg is here as well. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Jow is here as well. Good to see you, Jow. Hope you're doing well. 91 Leeds. Good to see you there, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Airbus is here as well. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Have I missed anyone? I don't think so. No, that's everyone that's here in the live chat. Excuse me. I've been talking so much today, so probably it's probably not going to be the best of my voice today, because I've done so much content today, guys. It's been crazy. Steve McMorrin is here as well. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Right, trying to clear my throat because we've got a lot to cover today, guys. So I'm not going to discuss the Iran attack on Israel and UK's responses and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to cover that today. In fact, I'm going to wait till Wednesday to get more. I'm going to wait till Wednesday probably, and we'll cover some clips and responses on that. The first story I actually wanted to cover was this one. That was brought up by Chris Murray. Put this on the Maxis Discord, and I saw this, and I was thought, what? I literally was flabbergasted when I saw this story. And obviously, we don't normally cover world news here on Snowflake Viewpoint, but this ties into obviously with the UK, and this obviously, you guys know how I feel about the Sudan conflict, and how little to lack of news coverage that it gets over there, guys. This exclusive from The Guardian here, with UK Foreign Office have been holding secret talks with Sudan's RSF paramilitary groups. So the exclusive reveals that the rights groups denounced negotiations with rapid support forces accused of ethnic cleansing and war crime. This really, I'm quite infuriated with this, considering that there has been, as I don't know, obviously not everybody obviously watches every single video, but those who have obviously know that I've covered extensively different videos on Sudan over the past pretty much ever since the war started. I've covered whatever's been happening in Sudan, and there have been numerous reports of the rapid support forces ethnic cleansing, raping, pillaging, all sorts of horrible crimes and atrocities that the rapid support forces, that's the RSF, have been called out for. The very fact that the UK Foreign Office are holding secret talks with them. Now, I would say there isn't anything wrong with governments holding talks, but what's the reason behind them holding these talks makes me raise some questions. And why have we never heard about this? The only reason now that we're starting to see a few more stories about Sudan's conflict in some other mainstream medias, apart from Al Jazeera and Middle East and Eye, guys, the only reason you're starting to hear about it more is because we're coming up to the 1 year anniversary of when this conflict started. That's the only reason why you might be seeing a few more stories around about Sudan, because nobody else was, because apart from Middle East and Eye and Al Jazeera and maybe one or two other minor outlets, nobody was giving a toss about this conflict at all. No one was. So let's read into this, guys. So, the Foreign Office officials are holding secret talks with the paramilitary group that have been waging a campaign of ethnic cleansing in Sudan for the past year. Hold on. Reg, good to see you there, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Kevin Grant, good to see you. Just listened to Ian Dale's interview with Truss. He said he doesn't accept excuses and then make excuses for everything to defend the Conservatives and her as a Prime Minister. I have not seen that interview. If I get a chance, I will. I'll have a look at it if I get a chance. I'm very behind on a lot of videos and content, but if I get a chance to watch it, I will do. But thank you for that, Kevin. Hope you're doing well. News that the British government and the rapid support forces are engaging in clandestine negotiations has prompted warnings that such talks risk legitimising the notorious militia, which continue to commit multiple war crimes while undermining British moral credibility in the region. Britain's moral credibility has already been undermined. We already know it's been undermined anyway. Oh, no, that's fine, Mad Monk. It's all good, buddy. It's all good, buddy. Britain's credibility has already been undermined with what's been going on with Gaza. We already know this. I mean, I know some of you guys were there when we were listening to the Two Davies show. Like, literally, we were saying, like, there was the credibility of Britain is going out the window with what's happening there. So, like, Britain's moral credibility is already in the can already. So this is just adding to it. One human rights group described the UK's willingness to negotiate with the RSF as shocking. In December, the US accused the paramilitary force of committing crimes against humanity as it carried out widespread massacres and rape of civilians, many from African and Meslic ethnic communities. The revelations come as the war between the RSF and Sudan's military reaches its first anniversary on Monday. Thousands of Sudanese have been killed, while more than 8 million have been forced to flee their homes, and 18 million people are suffering crisis levels of food insecurity. It's actually 25 million. From Middle East and I have reported, by the way. It's 25 million. Among the crimes committed by the RSF in a rampage in Darfur, the UN report said left up to 15,000 dead in Geneva, the capital West Darfur state. The massacre prompted comparisons to the genocidal massacres in the region 2 decades ago. Such atrocities, as well as reporting of RSF fighters committed extrajudicial killings, looting aid, and widespread rape of women and children, have profoundly weakened the group's legitimacy among the Sudanese people. Yeah. we've covered this extensively. It's just absolutely abhorrent, to say the least. So how did we find out about this? So, yet a Freedom of Information (FOI) response reveals that Senior Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, the FCDO, officials instigated talks with the RSF. The most recent meeting between the UK and the paramilitary group was last month. The FOI response stated the FCDO had both tried and had been successful in contacting representatives from the Rapid Support Forces. The last successful contact was on Wednesday, March the 6th, when officials from the FCDO met with representatives from the RSF. UK officials added that so far he had not met with the RSF feared leader, Mohammed Hamdan Dagalo, widely known as Helmidi. The 49-year-old is the former commander of the Jawadi militia, the RSF forerunner, which was accused of genocidal violence in Darfur in 2003, and more recently has allied himself with Russia and the Wagner mercenaries. Yes, so they are getting. Yes, this has been reported as well that Russian. There is obviously Russian mercenaries and Russian are supporting the RSF by getting weapons and equipment from neighbouring countries into where the RSF have control in certain parts of Sudan. Not getting it from South Sudan, but from South Sudan. I know South Sudan has its own issues, but that's not where they're directly getting it. But it's more my understanding is from Western parts. They're not getting any from the sea. I know that because the military owns controls most of it along the Suez Canal and along down there. My understanding, but they are getting those supplies from they are getting help from Russia. In January, Helmidi launched a diplomatic tour of African countries in what observers said was an attempt to portray himself as a viable leader. He visited Djibouti, Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Uganda, Ghana and South Africa weeks after the head of Sudan's army, Abdel Farid, had made a similar tour as both of the generals tried to rally regional players to their side of the conflict. Yeah, I'm not going to... just not really wanting to read too much into the actual conflict, but I just wanted to read more on... I'm just going to skip a little bit, guys, because I want to read on what's the connection between them and the UK government. She said that the global Sudanese dystopia would greet news that the UK was secretly talking with the RSF as a complete abuse of trust on behalf that people have placed in the UK and other powers to negotiate on behalf of their advocate on their behalf. Crowder said this is an absolute shock, a real feeling of complete letdown by the UK government. She added that the history proved between the RSF had yielded few positives before the most recent fighting broke out. The West had been attempting to coax the group towards embracing democracy. Both sides, there was a point where there was going to be a democratic government, civilized government in power. Both sides rejected it. Both those generals rejected it. The country is in this position because of both leaders. So why? And why are you talking with the RSF? I have no idea I have no idea why the British government is talking with the RSF, considering the atrocities that they have already been accused of, multiple atrocities. Now, I'm not saying there ain't skeletons in the closet of the Sudanese army, because there are skeletons in their closet, but they're far worse with the RSF here. Trying to coax the group towards embracing democracy, if that is true, is absolutely pathetic from the government, especially the government that we have running our country right now, the UK right now. Sorry. These UK talks also assume that the RSF are good faith actors, Crosser said. Chatting to the RSF has never resulted in the outcomes that the UK said it wants to achieve in Sudan. I have no sense of why would it change at the moment. However, SCDO said the talks were an attempt to increase access to humanitarian aid to end the fighting against Sudanese armed forces, SAF, which are also accused of war crimes. As when I last covered Sudan, we talked whether it was Snowflake Viewpoint or World News End. We know that Saudi Arabia have been, with the support of the US, have been trying to establish some kind of at least getting them around the table at Cairo. I think there was supposed to be a mitigation of talks coming up this month, or at least next month, between the two sides. Whether that's, I'm pretty sure it was supposed to be this week. The two sides were supposed to talk. That I've heard nothing about the British government being involved in any way, shape, or form. This is all new to me. So I am a little bit skeptical from this article from The Guardian as well, because I've heard nothing from Al Jazeera or Middle Eastern Eye or some of the other sources that I use to cover Sudan. I've not heard nothing about this. So the fact this comes out of the blue around the time of it just seems a little bit fishy to me, you know. A Foreign Office spokesperson says the UK continues to pursue all diplomatic avenues to end the violence, to prevent further atrocities from occurring, to press both parties into a permanent ceasefire, to allow unrestricted humanitarian access to protect civilians, and to commit to a sustained and meaningful peace process. The SAF and the RSF have dragged Sudan into unjustified war. We agree with that, with an utter disregard for the Sudanese people, and we will do all that we can to ensure that both are held accountable. I agree with the statement. Whether you will hold them accountable, I doubt it. It was an approach that had merit, according to Ahmed Somalam, a senior research fellow at the Cheltenham House Africa programme. How is A going to get into Western Sudan unless you engage with the rapid support forces? They control 95% of Dhofar, he said. This is a really dirty reality of war. It shouldn't engage and neglect engaging with civilians, but it's also been part of trying to ensure there is a solution both to ending the war in the near term and then providing assistance for civilians. The insurrection of Khartoum of thousands of men into the RSF in 2017, the paramilitary support forces was first accused of crimes against humanity in Dhofar in 2003. This photo there. However, the West attempted that peacekeeping had been under scrutiny since the war began, after diplomats helped create a power-sharing deal in 2009 between Hamdi and Boden that culminated in conflict and chaos. Silavandar said, the problem in Sudan is that we've talked to them before and they've asked to share power, something that resituated them in the centre of government. So the danger is that in the name of ending the violence, you talk to them, legitimise them and bring them both back into positions of power. Fresh attempts at a peace deal are due to begin in Jeddah on Thursday. There we go. Thursday. It was Thursday. The Saudi city hosted several rounds of talks last year before the army withdrew from negotiations, alleging that the RSF had violated the ceasefire. Yeah. The more on that is really on what's like. I want, like, I don't understand why the Foreign Office is kind of in this. Like, this is, I just feel like I am very skeptical of this article from the Guardian, because they barely talk about the conflict in Sudan as it is, but it does frustrate me a little bit, because it's like, why are you talking with them considering the atrocities that they have done? And to my mind, it should be like stay the F out of this, Britain, and try and let Saudi Arabia, who have actually been trying to negotiate some kind of deal, do that. You're not helping the situation. Like seriously, stay the F out of it. Is basically my message I have to the British government, because you've not done anything to in any way to help in this situation whatsoever. I've been covering this since the conflict started. And this is the first time I've ever heard the British government actually doing something, any kind of relationship or talks with anything with regards to Sudan. So I don't think they're helping in any way, shape or form, in my honest opinion, guys. Just before I come to you guys in the chat, 13 of you have cast your vote on was Trussonomics ever going to work. 92% of you say no, 8% doesn't know what that is. If the major powers were going to get involved in these conflicts, it should only be in a peacekeeping or humanitarian route, never by taking sides, says Steve. That's exactly why like, straight away off the bat, I'm thinking, why are they talking? Why exactly, Steve? This is why I'm like, why are you talking to the RSF when you haven't been talking for ages? We are talking about the same government that wants to deal with Rwanda, says one angry pagan. Yes, I know, but but we also know what the reason behind. We've been talking to Rwanda as well, don't we? The War Magromics YouTube channel has been pretty good for information about the Sudan War Agromics. Yeah, I'm sure other YouTube channels have been covering it too. I'm not dismissing any other channels, but it's those who are on the ground, those who are getting the news out, and the news is the ones where I'm getting it. I can't watch every single YouTuber. I don't think even Liz Truss can explain her methods. Remind me of methods of mayhem. The UK has the credibility of a 70s TV presenter, says Mad Monk. I thought I was here. Maybe I am on Cloud Cuckoo Land with Miss Trust. That's why you never mentioned me. Are you talking to me, Kevin? I don't. Maybe I'm the one going a bit mad today. And German is the easiest one. In Portuguese, it's more complicated to moderate. It is a language of multiple meanings. I know what it's like as I'm moderating most of the week. A spanner's work is never done. Yes, you've been doing a lot of spanner's works today, Mad Monk. After 1 year of war, finally funds have been allocated for aid today in Euronews. Is that for Ukraine? I'll have to have a look at that. Has it been approved? Have they finally approved it? I hope so. We covered that already. Just seeing if anything else I've missed here on the chat. Everyone just saying hello to everyone. Okay, cool. All right, thanks for your comments, guys. Let's move on from that. Well, I'm sure I'll be covering it in other places anyway, guys. So it's not going to be the last time I'll be talking about Sudan. Guys know how I feel about that conflict. Back in the UK, why? More than 2,000 NHS buildings in England are older than the National Healthcare Service figures show. Lib Dems and the Health Trust says patients and staff safety being put at risk by poor state of ageing infrastructure. Does this really surprise us? I have to say this is absolutely infuriating for a number of reasons. So, while, yes, of course, it's easy to point the finger at the Conservatives for the last 14 years and the times that they've been in government and what they've done to run down the NHS, and I'm not dismissing any of that at all. But it's not just been the Conservatives who've been in power ever since the creation of the National Healthcare Service. This has also been Labour too. And what have Labour been doing in power to ensure that these buildings have been modernised and ensuring that we don't continuously be in crumbling buildings? So both governments, both political parties have questions to answer here. I think it's quite shocking that we still have that we are still using some of the same buildings that we did when we first started the National Healthcare Service. Literally, it's insane to me. It comes across as quite insane to me when I'm thinking about it, to show just how just how bad they are. And we've talked in the past about the RAC retro autoclad concrete, which is really, really bad material, crumbling material that is in some of the schools, but it's also in some of the hospitals. There was also a story from the Telegraph a while back about the concrete actually falling on top of somebody as well, which absolutely shocking. But as of right now, do I see the Conservatives doing anything about this report? Nope. Do I see anything Labour doing about this initially, with Wes Streeting in charge as the Health Secretary? No, I really, really don't, guys. I really, really don't. So millions of patients are being put at risk in crumbling hospitals that are unfit for purpose, MPs have said. The figures reveal more than 2,000 NHS buildings are older than the health service itself. Health bosses have repeatedly warned ministers of the urgent need to plunge cash into replacing rundown buildings in order to protect the safety of patients and staff. The maintenance backlog has risen to £11.6 billion in England. £11.6 billion. You know what? You know what could help mitigate that cost, yeah? If we weren't spending £500,000 on a Rwanda scheme. That could help with the backlog. If we were properly taxing the rich, that could help with this £11.6 billion. Just a few ideas there to help reduce the backlog on the maintenance. Now, analysis of NHS digital data has found that 34 out of 211 NHS trusts in England and at least 1 in 4 buildings have been standing since before 1948, the year the NHS was founded. Sewage leaking from sinks and onto wards are among the issues affecting more than 2,000 buildings that predate the health service. Last month, it was reported that the ceilings of an intensive care ward collapsed onto a patient on life support and a failing lift broke a doctor's leg. Falling lift broke on a doctor's leg. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of when I was working, one of the last places I was working before I was doing this as a YouTuber. And the place I was working, we needed lifts. We needed require lifts to get certain things, and we always had one. There was like 4 lifts, and I always remember one of them was always broken, and they never bothered to fix it, or if they did, they would just do the bare minimum just to get it running. I'm not blaming the NHS for this. I just think they just never had the funding to fix these lifts properly. But this really is so frustrating. This is so devastating. Doctor's leg has been broken. One hospital said to have been using its intensive care as a storeroom because it was deemed it unsafe for patients. In 2020, Tory ministers promised 40 new hospitals as part of the new building programme. Yeah, did we honestly believe Boris Johnson? What was it? How many did they build? Was it 6? It wasn't even 6, was it? Was it 6? I think they haven't even. Some of them aren't even finished. Did they even finish one out of the 40 hospitals? I don't think they even finished one, guys. But the National Audit Office has discovered that the scheme will not be delivered by 2030, as was pledged. Liberal Democrats' health and social care spokesperson Daisy Cooper described the situation as a national scandal with millions of people treating in old and crumbling hospitals that are no longer fit for purpose. Patients and staff deserve the dignity of safe, modern and clean hospitals, Cooper said, but instead this government has shamefully chosen to raid the capital budgets for fixing crumbling buildings to plug the gaps in day-to-day costs while hospitals are literally falling apart. Rishi Sunak needs to get a grip and announce a plan for fix our crumbling hospital buildings. Patients should not have to pay the price for this Conservative government's chronological negligence of the health service. Well, he don't give a monkeys. He really doesn't. If he gave a damn, he would have done something already. Sunak at this point does not care what you think. The head of NHS providers, which represent health trusts, said the safety of the patients and staff was at risk. Too many NHS buildings in a very bad way. Saffron Cordley, the Deputy Chief Executive of NHS Providers, said the situation is just getting worse year after year. The safety of patients and staff is at risk. NHS trusts have an £11 billion plus list of essential repairs waiting to be done, and the backlog is mounting at an alarming rate. The eye-watering cost trying to keep creaking buildings and out-of-date facilities is soaring. To be properly equipped to give people first-class care, the NHS needs safe 21st century buildings and facilities. The Guardian revealed last week that thousands of pests, including rats, cockroaches and bedbugs, have been found in NHS hospitals every year. What? Hospital bosses have been spending millions of pounds on pest control after discovering lice, flies and rodents in children's wards, breast clinics, maternity units, AIM departments and kitchens. Why is this happening? This is what happens when you cut the funding of the NHS, guys. And all those, I'm sorry, I get so angry when I see people in my comments trying to blame the NHS and saying the NHS is that we need to reform the NHS. The NHS is at form. When they refuse to acknowledge that what's happened to the NHS is a result of Conservatives stripping away, privatising so much of the National Healthcare Service. Refusing to acknowledge the damage that the Conservatives have caused to our National Healthcare Service. Outright refusing to acknowledge it. I get so angry when I see those comments. A Department of Health and Social Care spokesperson said we're investing in record sums. See, this is the thing. They always talk about investing the record sums, guys, right? We hear about this all the time. Yeah, how many times have you heard a politician saying, we've invested this, we've invested that into this, we've dedicated 20,000 new police forces, we've invested record profits into our NHS, we've invested this much into education, right? What they don't tell you is where that money actually goes. They don't tell you how it's distributed. They just tell you that they've invested money. They give no details whatsoever. Well, let me give a detail for those who don't know, yeah? A vast chunk of money that goes into our NHS that we pay into does not stay in the NHS. It goes into the private healthcare sector. It does not stay within our NHS. That's just one of many things that that taxpayers' money that goes into our NHS gets wasted on. There's so many issues with our NHS. We'll be here all goddamn night talking about it. With 4.2 invested last year alone. which helped us achieve the biggest 5-month fall in waiting lists in the last 10 years. Oh, wow. Really? I'm struggling to see that. I'm finding that very hard to believe. This is on top of an expected investment of over £20 billion for the new hospital program, with 4 hospitals open already. Oh, so they've opened 4. That's a start. Another 4 are due to follow this financial year, and a further £1.7 billion for more than 70 hospital upgrades. 70 hospital upgrades. £1.7 billion. What was the number there that they said that they needed to fix some of them? The maintenance backlog has risen to £11.6 billion. I'm not. I don't know. Maybe you guys can help me figure out the numbers here, because it doesn't really. The numbers don't seem to add up to me. But it's just I really like. I'm very fortunate that I'm quite a healthy person, and I try to look after my body as best as I can. But there's so many people out there who are sick and are struggling and need some help out there, and they're just not getting it they're just not getting it. They're just not getting the healthcare they need. And when they're not getting the healthcare they need, they tell you to go private. They tell you to go private. They try to encourage you to go private. And I hate this, because it forces people to go private, to put their hands in their pockets. People don't want to go private, but people feel that they have to, because they're not getting the service that they need. And because we continue to push this justification, the Conservatives to push this justification on it. It's infuriating. Tory, don't get tated. Good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Just see what else. From 2011 onwards, George Osborne went on a spree. Yeah, he did, one angry pagan. If the NHS has no money as well, it will crumble. Simple enough, says Jal. And we know Boris Neville's a lie, wasn't it? He said he was a liar. Yeah, Boris, yeah, lying. Yeah, I know. Exeter Winford Hospital was always good when I went there during the 2000s. So it's only one angry pagan. Unfortunately, we need to wait for the manifesto for that. We need Sunak to call the election. I hate the situation. Wasn't the Tories building how many hospitals with the money they sent us? The evil West, EU, says Joe. Yeah, where's that gone? What are you guys saying there? The major powers are going to... Yeah, I've covered that comment already. Sorry. Yeah. Hi Casper, good to see you, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, Ollie's infuriated with this story. He hates this. He what's that, Ollie? Yeah, Ollie says everyone should have a right to healthcare. Everyone should have a right to the healthcare. I agree with Ollie. I hope you guys agree with him. He's really angry about it. And I don't blame him for feeling it, because it's outrageous. It's absolutely outrageous what's happening to our healthcare system, guys. So this next one, guys, is exclusive from iNews. But just before I do, guys, if you haven't already, please hit the like button and share this across social media so others are notified of this video. And subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And thank you for everyone who does so. It is greatly appreciated. So this one is being revealed that MP's new pro-vaping group is funded by a vaping industry. Who would have thought it? Vaping companies have spent 470k. I was going to say thousand. No, it's a lot more than that. 470k on MPs and Westminster's backers over the past 6 years. See, this whole, this kind of ties in maybe into a little bit of why Sunak is perhaps, maybe he's pushing this smoking ban, so the vaping industry can get themselves a nice boom of money. But it says MPs there, so it might not. Now, I haven't read this, but I saw this, obviously, for exclusive from the eye, and I just thought, ooh, what's this? And I'm just, thinking to myself, is this just Conservatives, or is there other MPs involved, other political parties involved on this one? Always throwing money in front of them and saying, hey, give us some money. Let's read what the eye has to say on this, guys. So, vaping firms are funding a new pressure group of MPs attempting to water down plans to regulate the industry amid concerns about its impact on children's health, the eye can reveal. The independent British Vape Trade Association, the IBVTA, got that right, has committed £37,500 as the sole backer of an all-new party parliamentary group, the APPG, for responsible vaping, which was registered last week. APPG are an informal interest group of MPs that facilitate cross-party work on the issue and have come under increasingly scrutiny over their links to industry lobbies in Westminster. Oh, okay. A former head of Standard, yeah, I know, Watchdog had told the Eye he believes the vaping industry efforts are a backdoor way of influencing governments, warning of conflicts of interest among MPs. The APPG said it intends to work with the government to develop its plans to regulate the industry in legislation that will be debated by MPs for the first time on Tuesday. The vaping industry's contribution is the latest in a series of donations to MPs and parliamentary groups, accounting to 470,000 over the last 6 years, the Eye analysis has found. Sir Alistair Graham, the former chairman of the Committee on Standards in Public Life, said he believes a vaping trade body funding a group designed to hold the industry to account clearly presents conflict of interest. He told the Eye there should be some restriction on receiving funding from outside industry bodies. It's essentially a backdoor way of influencing government. Vaping companies have long pushed for the promotion of e-cigarettes as a tool to stop smoking in the US, despite concerns from the World Health Organization. A major study linking e-cigarettes to a heightened risk of heart failure published this month will cast doubts on their benefits, but government said it will continue to promote them to smokers. Another recent study concluded vaping is linked to similar DNA changes seen in smokers who develop cancer. The APPG is for responsible vaping, and its MPs have criticised plans for restrict vaping flavours, warning that could lead to an increase in smoking, echoing claims made by the vaping industry. Hello, Andrew Luke. Good to see you there in the chat. New powers to ban disposable vapes, restrict vape flavours, introducing plain packaging, and change how vapes are displayed in shops so they don't appeal during will also be part of the tobacco and vapes bill. So they're going to try and dumb this down somehow, is what my understanding this group that they pour money into. The APPG said it's expected to the Department of Health and Social Care to produce further assessments of the impact of the vaping measures and a comprehensive consultation ahead of the introduction of any secondary legislation that will spell out how the government will use its new powers. The group's chair, the Tory MP Gareth Johnson, said he has serious concerns about the vaping portions of the bill and the unintended consequences that it may inadvertently drive more people towards smoking. Well, how... If you're outright banning... I've said this, guys, about smoking, right? Like, smoking is no different than alcohol. It's something that people like. Like, yes, it's bad for your body, but people still want to drink because they like to have a good time and whatnot. And smoking should be categorized in the same way. I think what we've done with smoking in this country is been good. I think we've done a great job in cracking down on the amount of people smoking. But I think I just going towards just talking about smoking, obviously, I strongly disagree with Rishi Sunak and the government's plan to outright ban smoking, because all it's going to do is create a black market for it. There are already black markets for drugs, which is why we should legalize cannabis, as well as maybe even one or two other drugs I've thought about as well. I really think we should, to create markets and economies out of them, rather than having them be made in the black market where we're not getting not couping any of the money towards it. I don't agree. I'm not sure if it will drive more people towards smoking. I'm not 100% sure about that, if I'm honest. He added the potential adoption of stricter options on flavours risk undermining public health goals, endangering progress towards a smoke-free future. I can't see us being complete. You can't be completely smoke-free. I don't at the moment, as of right now, I don't accept this premise that we will ever be a completely smoke-free country. I find that very hard to believe. You can correct me if I'm wrong if you don't think that's going to be the case, but I generally don't think that, guys. I really, really don't. We look forward to working with government to ensure that vaping policy, specifically around flavours, packaging, point of sale, do not risk the positive role that vaping has and must continue to play for all adult smokers. Positive role. The APPG for responsible vaping, with the IBVTA acting as its sole financial backer after contributing between 37,000 and 39,000, was first listed in updated parliamentary records last week. There is no suggestion MPs have acted immorally or outside the parliamentary rules by joining APPGs, except in hospitalities or sponsoring events, but experts have warned that the donations highlight the need for transparency. This is a But again, they can influence the politicians to change the wordings and change things that have been said in the bills or things about vaping, not so much in the ways that could actually unintentionally harm children and harm people or drive people towards more vaping and smoking. We don't want to drive more people towards vaping or smoking in any way, shape or form. We don't want to create that drive for them. The funding is to pay for a secretariat to administer the group, which includes handling events and the publication of a report. A website for group states it was founded to demonstrate the positive benefits of vaping in support of smoking concessions. What we should be doing is creating, instead of, the positive effects of vaping, we should be looking at ways of how to get people off them and giving them the therapy and help that they can, and finding alternative means to get them off it. That's what we should be looking at. We should be looking at helping people who are addicted to these things and how we can help them get off it. Not so much dealing about vaping and smoking directly, but just creating the more programs that we can to help people who suffer from these addictions and how we can help them overcome these addictions. That's what we should be doing more targeting on. Not for me, like the outright banning of smoking and the more on vaping. I think we should be looking at more of how we can help those who do suffer from these addictions and help them overcome them. But obviously we know that this group has different intentions. Rose Witherton, Senior Research Officer at Transparency International UK, told the Eye, these close links between paramilitaries and the vaping industry are concerning, especially when government is considering reforming its policy on smoking. She said MPs should not let well-resourced lobbying groups disproportionately affect their judgment on politics. They should always seek to put the public interest first. Gareth Johnson, Tory MP for Dartford, is the group's chair and wrote an op-ed for the Conservatives' Home last month, in which he urged ministers to consistently engage with the APPG to avoid risking the many benefits that vaping can bring. The APP's Vice Chair, North Tyneside Labour MP Mary Gilligan, attended a conference hosted by UK's Vaping Industry Association, Labour MP, UK VIA last year at the event. She said the industry had previously had a difficult job engaging with Labour because of its association with tobacco companies. The MP told the trade body, our job is to make sure that Labour is listening and engaging with the industry to make sure vaping is an alternative for the 6.6 million people in the UK who still smoke. But I don't think we should be, like, the more I read in this, guys, the more I think we shouldn't be trying to alternative them. We should be trying to help them get off it. But we don't want to do. But we that's my thinking behind it. Like, I feel like, to me, like, a part of me feels like is that you're not fixing these addictions. You're just passing it from one industry to another. I feel like you're just taking it here and you're just moving. You're literally moving the goalposts as opposed to actually tackling the issue of how we can help these people. That's kind of what I'm seeing right now. Mr. Johnson said the responsible vaping APPG has not received any actual money from any organisation, and that the funding from the IBVTA is an estimate staffing costs incurred by the sectarian. The APPG shares a separate statement on Mr. Johnson's behalf, saying it fully abides by parliamentary rules. It says funds from the IBVTA help to pay for the sectarian, like many APPGs. Johnson has said the view of the APPG and of those members, the vast majority of adult vapers are ex-smokers. Some will have smoked for many years, during which smoke-related damage might have occurred prior to them ever having switched to vaping. Vaping should not be used by adults who never smoke and never by children. So who is on the APPG and what are their links to the vaping industry? Let's have a look. Dave McGuinness, good to see you there, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Simon says there, good to see you there too, buddy. Hope you're both doing well. Hope you had a good weekend. Guys, make sure you check out the 2 Davies, so youtube.com/the 2 Davies. Someone could put a link in the description. Make sure you guys check them out. Every Monday and Thursday, guys, they do a show. And I just want to give, just before we go any further, obviously, to David, obviously his operation didn't go well. Everyone here on the channel just wants to wish him well, and hopefully, fingers crossed, he will get better for him. So send us our love to him, David, if you can. Really appreciate it. 17 MPs and 3 peers have joined the Responsible Vaping APPG, 13 of whom are Conservative. Gareth Johnson, MP for Dartford, chairs the group. The Vice Chair, Mary Gilligan, was nominated for the most supportive parliamentarian by the UK Vaping Industry Association last year, the Eye has discovered. Mrs. Clinton also sponsored an event in Parliament on behalf of Japan's Tobacco International, a tobacco and vaping company. Last May, she said the event was held to highlight the reported commission containing shocking statistics on the availability of illegal, non-compliant vapes. MPs have also sponsored 11 events in Parliament on behalf of vaping companies over the last 6 years, according to parliamentary records. See, I just don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like that they're getting that. You know what? I don't know how many of you like when I walk down sometimes high streets and whatnot, I see so many shops with like all the vape. I've seen some of these like shops that aren't actually shops; they're literally e-cigarette shops, and I don't approve of them at all. I really don't think. Yeah, I really don't think. For me, they scream addiction right on the front of them, just like gambling shops. I don't like this industry, this vaping industry. Like, I just don't like it at all. I don't like seeing these shops. I really don't. I think it sends the bad message. You know, we should be. For me, vaping should be. This stuff should be the same as smoking, behind the counters and all that kind of stuff. I hate seeing these vape e-shops and whatnot. I don't know how many of you come across them in your high streets and whatnot, but I really don't like them. So Alistair Graham, who chairs the Standard Watchdog from 2003 to 2007, said MPs should not be sponsoring events in Parliament on behalf of vaping firms. He described the practice as subsidised benefits, adding, "It's a backdoor use of public money, never mind seeking to influence government, that's actually using public funds. I proudly plead guilty to being vocal in my support of vaping as a smoking cessation tool. I'm in good company on this. The NHS also says that nicotine vaping is substantially less harmful than smoking." Yes, I'm again, like, I understand this, but should we not be trying to get people off addictions altogether rather than just passing it on from one place to another? She said to derive no personal benefit from any funding from APPGs and don't seek any benefits apart from helping people to quit smoking, adding, "Excuse me, I do also agree that any reports highlighting the health risk of vaping should be given due concern." Mark Payson, Conservative MP for Ruby, another member of the APPG for Responsible Vaping, was also nominated for UK VIA Award for Most Supportive Parliamentarian. Mr. Paisley was previously chair of the second APPG for vaping, which was disbanded last year and received £12,000 from the UK VIA. Miss Clinton was its vice chair. Since 2018, Mr. Pally has sponsored 3 events in Parliament on behalf of the UK VIA, which was the most recent last year, and a 4th from Japan's Tobacco International. No worries, David, all good. Last May, he urged the government to use its attendance at the World Health Organization Global Tobacco Control Conference to champion vaping. I'm going to stop in this last paragraph because this I didn't realise how long the article was. The WHO in the FTC, the Framework Convention of Tobacco Control, has stubbornly continued to ignore evidence about the benefits of regulated nicotine products that don't burn tobacco that can bring to the public health, he claimed. Like I said, if you want to read the rest of it, guys, you can do in the description. But like I've said on it, guys, I just want to point out that I don't like that back in the day, obviously, we always had these tobacco companies having influence within parliamentarians and whatnot. And obviously, they've had to adapt and change because obviously the smoking industry, because smoking kills and all that kind of stuff. So now they've switched, some of them have switched into the vaping industry. And it's become a boom for them, just like it was the tobacco industry now. And it's just... it's so annoying. Like I said, guys, I just feel like that they move this issue from one goalpost to another with people who have these addictions, and we should be looking to help get people off these addictions. Now there are obviously cases where they need something, they need an alternative to the smoking or whatnot that they're stuck on, and I get that point. But I also feel like that we here, well, obviously I can't speak for the rest of the UK, but I speak for here in England. Here in England, I feel like that vaping is not seen as a bad thing. It's not seen as a terrible thing. It's not seen as a wrong thing. Obviously, for children, it's bad. Obviously, understandably, but I'm not seeing it as vaping is bad. You shouldn't vape. It's not like I'm not seeing that coming out of the government, like saying people should not be vaping at all, like sort of thing. And I'm not sure if I welcome this much good coverage that it's getting. I mean, it's just. I'm not sure about it, guys, if I'm honest. Thank you for those who've who've cast their votes in the live chat poll. Was Trussonomics ever going to work? 18 of you cast your vote so far. 0% no. 94% says no, and 6% don't know what that is. We are dual streaming both here and on twitch.tv as well, just for reference. Just going to see what you guys are saying in the chat. Everyone's saying hello to each other because more people turned up. What's that, Careful? Mad stress about an interview tomorrow. I don't get many, but this is helping. Well, good luck with your interview tomorrow, Careful. Don't you worry. Just be yourself. Don't stress too much about it. I actually had a friend of mine online who she's like a very nervous person. She has lots and lots of issues, and she got the job today, so she's in a buoyant mood. So just be yourself and you'll be fine. You know, you just be yourself. Don't stress. Don't panic too much about it. Just be yourself. Be yourself. You'll be fine, buddy. You'll be fine. Man Monk says, I gave up smoking 2020 and I've been vaping since. It saved me a fortune and probably better for my health, says Mad Monk. Well, it's an alternative for you, Mad Monk. But have you tried to, in all seriousness, as someone who is vaping, so you can speak from experience, have you tried to reduce your vaping? Have you thought about ever thinking like that ever about getting off vaping altogether, or do you not ever see yourself getting off it, just out of curiosity? So I'm just curious to know from your perspective of someone who does vape. There should be an age limit for vaping. This shouldn't be packaged as unicorn flavour. Vapes are primarily for giving up smoking and not for CBeebies. I do think there's a packaging issue. Andrew, I agree with that. They should not be highlighted as colourful, bubbly sort of good things, because that's kind of the picturesque that they're being painted, and I don't like that at all. I don't like that. That's why I'm very much against all these vaping stores that I see pop up. I really hate them. I really hate them. I think it's way too, like, I don't mind vaping, like, if it was like part of a convenience shop or something, maybe I'll have a different, it won't be so bad. But because it's so publicly open to people, it's enticing to people, and I don't like that. We shouldn't be enticing people to vape, especially non-smokers. You know, we don't want to entice people to this kind of thing. Since the law became harder and fines came up with vengeance, air is clean here, says Jow. To Andrew Luke. What's that? I referred to my country where secondary smoking is almost impossible in public places, including restaurants and bars, in the family environment, and the family has to decide it. Interesting. So you have very little to no smokers there in Portugal, I'm assuming there. In all seriousness, I think people that want to help them, but for those who are over 18, you have to be free to do whatever they want, and smoking is not killing anyone except yourself. It's a difficult one, because I feel like there's a part of me is like, okay, it's an alternative to smoking, and it benefits people, like Mad Monk said there in the chat. But my other, like, I am a bit of a torn on this one, because I feel like it's another addiction thing. But then I'm also a hypocrite, because I do think I'm a bit of a hypocrite about it as well. Ridiculous how vapes are targeted at children overly, says Andrew Luke there. I'm happy vaping. It gives me something to do with my hands that doesn't cause blindness, says Mad Monk. Thanks for that. Off topic, some anti-smoking policies is BS. Hammering metal over outside ashtrays and making all packets look the same, leading to stress in retail. No smoking on open air train platforms. I think I think what we have with smoking, I think it is I feel like that we've done more than enough to reduce the amount of people smoking, but I just don't agree with outright banning it. Like, I think we make it difficult enough for people to smoke. And I think, and I wouldn't go, I don't know if I would go with vaping at the same level as smoking, but I would certainly make it, I wouldn't make it very visible for people. Like, I wouldn't make it visible to people. I wouldn't make it visible to people vaping, if I'm honest. I think that's a bit too far for me, but maybe that's just me. We have smokers, but they are diminishing. But people can smoke. There are places when you can do it, says Jao. Yeah, there are smoking areas. There are smoking areas, obviously, in for us as well. So yeah. No worries, Careful. It's all good. I had a friend whose vape thing cracked. It got off her skin and burnt her. That put me off vaping, says Casper. Yeah, Yeah, it's understandable to feel that way. Here in Portugal, taxing is to make it more expensive to smoke, and the tax goes to your healthcare service there in Portugal. Thanks for that, Joe. Smoking bud helps slow my mind. I understand and accept the arguments, but don't get into argument with friends when stoned, more likely with alcohol. I just try to find a way, alternative healthy ways, but it's difficult to say so, isn't it, to be fair? But how do you feel about it all, Ollie? What's that? Ollie would rather smoke cannabis, which he wants to legalize. He wants to legalize cannabis here. Yeah, he's don't know. It must have something to do with that time in the nightclub that we talked about last week, guys. Something to do with that. Let's not go there. Right, let's break the ice a little bit. I've got a couple more stories for you guys, and I can't believe the time already. Wow, it's already 5 to 9. Crazy, guys. So let's break up things a little bit here. Mr. Jonathan Pye here. I haven't listened to this one actually, so let's. I know the last one was a bit controversial, obviously, with his thoughts on the Scottish bill. I thought that wasn't his best take, shall we say. Let's hope this one from Jonathan Pye was a lot better.
However, some of the criminal justice bill's proposals have caused much consternation, not just amongst homeless charities, but also among many leading Conservative figures. Let's take a look at the details. Did you know this? Before the 2019 election, the Tories pledged to end rough sleeping in England by 2024. And I thought, wow, come on, let's do it. Let's do it. In 2022, Parliament voted to repeal the Vagrancy Act of 1824 with something a bit more, modern. And I thought, finally, a government that is finally going to seriously tackle this issue. Finally, we won't still be treating the homeless like they did in Victorian times. But when they pledged to stop homelessness, I didn't realise they were going to stop it by banging them all up in prison. They want to replace the Napoleonic-era Vagrancy Act with a law that is more Dickensian than, well, Dickens could have imagined. A law that not only criminalises rough sleepers and raises the prospect of them being sent to prison, but now rough sleepers could be given a fine of up to $2,500 if they smell bad. I mean, you gotta laugh, right? You gotta laugh, or you'll throw a fucking brick. The first time in British history you can get a criminal conviction for not washing, which is something the Health Secretary denied on national television yesterday, and in denying it, she lied to your fucking face, because it's in the fucking bill. These people smell because they haven't washed. They haven't washed because they don't have access to fresh water, a bit like in the third world. Yeah, more homeless people die of dehydration in the summer than of cold exposure in the winter. Easy access to clean water is a basic global human right, and yet this government is seriously thinking about criminalising not having access to a shower. And that might not end up in the final bill, but who came up with that in the first place? Tackle homelessness by fining them $2,500 because they honk of piss and it's getting right up my middle-class nostrils. Where are they going to find the money? For a start, there's only so many big issues you can sell, right? Everyone hates homelessness. Everyone, but the Tories, they've gone one step further. They hate the homeless. They are no better than common criminals. Rough sleepers are not a social care issue. They are, as written in this law, a nuisance. This government thinks they should be punished. People who are cold and thirsty and, yes, a bit smelly, who are statistically probably an addict with a very good chance they have serious mental health issues, they should be punished. How is this a solution to the problem? And more to the point, why is this such a problem? Social care in this country has been stripped to the bone. Local homelessness services have been cut by £1 billion a year and have lost 9,000 beds since 2010. As a consequence, rough sleeping has increased 165% since 2010. The number of people dying whilst homeless has increased by 51%. Yet this government's attitude is, we're not to blame, they are. It's their lifestyle choice. It's not our fault, it's their fault. No! There is always a reason they are there. They all have a story to tell. They haven't failed, they have been failed by their parents, by their education, their local authority, or more than likely in this instance, they've been failed by this government. Rough sleeping is not a lifestyle choice for those sleeping rough. It is a choice of this government. It's been a choice ever since David Cameron declared that we were all in it together before implementing a brutal and sustained assault on the poorest, most vulnerable people in his so-called big society. And whilst we have obscene levels of destitution and hardship in this country with record numbers sleeping rough on the streets, a near billionaire resides in number 10. Nasty, evil fuckers. Well, it's always a difficult tightrope for any government to walk, looking tough on antisocial behaviour.
Thanks for that, Jonathan. Nasty, evil. Yep. I agree with that sentiment, don't you, Ollie? Yep, they are nasty, evil people, aren't they? Nasty, evil is a great word to describe. Nasty, evil effers is a great way to describe it. Controversial Jonathan Pye. I hope you enjoyed some of his words. I do like when he really sticks the knife into the party. I don't mean literally, obviously, but just before we get to Trussonomics. Oh God, yes, I know Trussonomics, guys. Just want to remind you guys, if you haven't already, consider becoming a YouTube member. You can become a YouTube member for as little as 99p. Doing that financially supports me and really helps the work that I do here. So anyone becoming a YouTube member makes a world of difference, and I want to thank everybody who has done so. If you are a YouTube member and you're here in the chat today, just so you know, if you happen to stay all the way to the end of the show, you just might see the outro video of a scroll bar with your name on it coming across here on the screen on the outro video. So if you managed to stay long enough to see it, if you were here at the start, you would have seen it in the intro video. So maybe you will see your name on the screen if you are a YouTube member. Also, other ways you can financially support me if you don't want to do it by YouTube, via YouTube membership. If you want to ensure that I get a bigger cut of any kind of financial support, if you want to do so, you can do so by buying me a coffee. The link is in the description there. And you can also do so by becoming a Patreon supporter as well there. And by the way, if you access my Patreon or Rumble content, you can watch additional videos for free on there. I actually have 5 videos on Patreon coming up this week for you if you want to check them out. Reganelite Patreon/Reganelite. You can check that out. It's completely free to sign and create an account on there, and you can check out the additional content on there. I've sworn on quite a few of them as well. So if you'd like to hear me swearing a bit more, you can always find that on there. So thank you to everyone who has supported me financially. Greatly appreciate it, guys. Trussonomics. This from The Independent. The facts that prove Trussonomics was always doomed to fail. Liz Truss mini budget coincided with the then Chancellor Kwasi Kwarteng promised £45 billion of unfunded tax cuts. Why are we talking about this crazy person again, guys? Who? Why are we talking about this insane person? I just hate. So because she has a book, everyone in the media has to stop what they're doing, and we have to talk about her. We got to have her on a radio show. We've got to have articles about her. Like I generally really hope by some miracle at this general election she loses her seat. I know it's unlikely. I like to think so. I like to think so. But when you hear some of the things that she's been saying, and some of the things she's written in her book, thinking that she knows it all, It's so crazy. It's so deluded. These people thought what they were doing was perfectly fine. And that it was never their fault what happened with the mini budget. That it was everybody else just not trusting them. No accountability. They just doing whatever the hell they want. And they made a lot of people rich. And they screwed so many people's lives in doing so. They actually should be, and actually, I would actually go as far to say perhaps Liz Truss and Kwasi Kwarteng should actually go to jail for this budget because they've ruined so many people's households are now going to cost so much more. Some of those people are going to have to downsize. Some of those people are actually going back to living with their parents. Some of them are even gone as far as homeless now because of what's happened for them. So, you know, maybe Kwasi Kwarteng and Liz Truss should put their hand in their pockets to help pay back some of that. After the most disastrous sting in Downing Street in living memory, Liz Truss prepared to release her memoir. She will argue she was ousted by the establishment and made to play for the ideological heart of the Tory party. The establishment. The establishment. You was the establishment, you crazy woman. The collapse of her project known as Trussonomics dealt a hammer blow to the Conservative Party's long-held reputation for fiscal responsibility and careful economic planning. With her? God, no. Her mini-budget coincided with the then-Chancellor and ideological bedfellow Kwasi Kwarteng promised £45 billion of unfunded tax cuts, the largest since 1972. Absolutely insane, these two. The argument was that the increased borrowing for tax cuts which targeted the wealthiest in society would be paid for with higher economic growth, a dubious claim that was widely dismissed by economics and financial institutions. Yeah, they wanted to do this whole stupid trickle-down economics. Trickle-down economics does not work. I am not an economist. I don't know nothing about economy. But what I do know is the wealth have this terrible habit, guys, of holding all the money above them. But the premise of trickle-down economics is it's supposed to pour all the way down, you know, to the middle class and to the poor. But you know what actually happens, guys? You pour all that money at the top, right? And instead of it trickling down, it actually stays there. They hold it there. They literally hold it there and it doesn't come down. And then you in the middle and lower class are like, huh? Where's the money coming? Where's the money? Oh, it's coming at some point. And then every now and then, a few coins and a few notes will slip through the cracks down to the middle and lower class. But the vast majority of the wealth that was handed to them stays up there. It doesn't actually come down, guys. It actually stays up there. There's a few cracks here and there of a few pennies and whatnot that will come down to the middle and lower class. But overall, it stays up there. It stays up there. There's no such thing as trickle-down economics. It doesn't work. It's just to make it sound like that the richest in society care about the middle and lower class, and that they make sure that wealthy money gets passed, that it will eventually come down to you, you know, in 100 years' time when you're long dead. The argument that the increased borrowing for tax cuts, which targeted the wealthiest in society, would be paid for higher economic growth, a dubious claim that was widely dismissed by economics and financial institutions. The response from the market was equally scornful. The pound collapsed and the government bonds yield, an indicator of the interest rate, that the government's borrowing at skyrocketed. It forced the Bank of England to intervene and buy up to £65 billion of government bonds to settle the market. Because of what was going to happen to the pension pots as well, is another reason why the Bank of England had to intervene as well. Thank the Labour government for separating the Bank of England from. Thank God the Labour did that for us. Imagine if we did not have the Bank of England. Imagine this happened. Everyone would be in panic mode. Everyone's pensions. Just horrible feeling. That's one good thing about Gordon Brown there. After ensuring meltdown, Miss Truss sacked Mr. Kwarteng and shortly left Downing Street after 49 days in power, the shortest premiership in British history, who also lost to a lettuce. Despite being ousted in number 10 by a lettuce in a blonde wig, A stunt by the Daily Star newspaper, which challenged her to outstay the vegetable. Ms. Truss spent a short time out of her spotlight before returning to the fray. She proceeded to lash out at the financial establishment, claiming that her efforts to cut taxes were sabotaged by the administrative state and the deep state. There is no deep state, you silly sausage. There is no deep state. You crashed the economy. You almost destroyed people's pensions. You ruined people's homes and you destroyed people's lives with your stupid mini budget. You had no understanding of what you guys were doing. And they still believe, it's this crazy belief that they think they know what they're doing. They really don't. In her book, 10 Years to Save the West, can we make her disappear in less than 10 years, please? Released next week, she will go down further elaborate on this theme and argue that humiliating downfall was not of her own making, but actually the fault of the global left. No, it was your fault because you just plain suck. You really suck as a Prime Minister. You suck as a politician. You have no bearings of understanding. Hell, I even remember Rory Stewart telling us about a conversation she had with you, and you had absolutely no idea what you were doing. Yeah, I think you should quietly disappear into the night and not come back instead of talking. People don't want to hear from you. You know, the general public really don't want to hear from you. I think if I'm absolutely honest, I think the public are getting more and more peed off with some of the media when they're bringing up this woman and the damage that she's caused. I really, really do. The Independent spoke to economics about mistrust economic ideas. Why they didn't work if it could make a possible return in the future. No, it will not. Shut up. Don't give them any ideas. Paul Dowles, the UK chief economics at Capital Economics, said she went about it completely the wrong way, in my opinion. In the most economics opinion, one thing she concluded was a way to boost GDP growth was just to have huge tax cuts that would fire up the economy, and those tax cuts would pay for themselves. Yeah, basically open up the free market to everything. The idea was to open up the free market and let free market run everything. Let the free market do everything. That was what they wanted to do. That would not work. You can't rely on the private sector to do everything for you. That you can't. Private sector won't do everything for you. They're interested in one thing and one thing only: their own profits, their own money gains. Not interested in your country or wherever you're from. Not interested in your problems. They only care about the one thing, and that is the bottom line. They don't give a damn about what's going on in the country. It's the same thing with everything that we've handed over for privatisation: rail, water, electricity, gas. You know, all these things. You know, the priority for them is profit. It's their bottom line. It's nothing to do with us. Nothing. We are the least of their problems. We don't give a damn about us. They don't. Assuming essentially that it's money free, which isn't really true. And she went. I went too up. She went too big, too fast. The £45 billion of unfunded tax cuts were announced in that mini budget, were the biggest package of tax cuts in 40 years, and they were worth one half of a GDP. It was just too much too soon. And Mrs. Dowles added that another mistake by Miss Truss and her Chancellor, Miss Kwarteng, was to circumvent the systems and institutions designed to ensure good management of the economy. You didn't want to do anything properly. You didn't even run any of the numbers by the OBR or anything. You just went straight for it without any foreshadowing whatsoever. Crazy. He said markets would have been worried about the way she was going about it, that what really pushed everyone over the edge was the undermining of the system and the institution. She sacked Tom Scholar, the top civil servant at the Treasury, and also sidelined the Office of Budget Responsibility, which was set up in 2010 by Chancellor George Osborne to check the sums of the government's financial or physical plans. The whole point of the OBR is that they provide the checks and balances on political, physical decisions, and by getting rid of them and not asking them to provide forecasts and assess plans, that it just sends a really big signal out there that Liz Truss and Kwarteng weren't taking physical responsibility seriously. They weren't. And to put it another way, it was like a family on 40k a year trying to borrow £5 million to try and buy a house worth £6 million. It just doesn't make economic sense. You can't stretch that far, and that's what worried the financial markets. Praskis Nuggan, an economist who works for the Institute of Public Policy, the IPPR think tank, says Miss Truss was correct that the UK needed a radical shift in economic policy, but what she got wrong was that the shift needed to be and how to deliver it. He said that much of the ideological heft of the program came from Donald Trump's Tax Cuts and Jobs Act, which included income tax rates cuts and reductions of corporate income tax rate to 21% from a top rate of 35%. The radicalness being that this would unlock lots of investment and private sector growth, he said. But we don't want to go that way. We want to go the other way. This is what all these people on the right want. They want this. They want this. We don't want this. However, the problem with this, he argues, is that the UK and US economics are not similar and that mistrust ideology's blinkers left her unable to recognise that other tools that would be needed to grow the UK economy in the long term, not simply cut taxes for the wealthy. Yeah, because she thinks, this premise that it would actually pass all the way down. He said the UK is not like the US. You can't just cookie cutter solutions from over there. We have a different set of problems and a very different economy. I think there was a lack of nuisance or understanding of the problem the UK is facing. In the short time, at the time, there was a huge energy crisis, but also something that people hadn't fully picked up on was that we had the worst of both worlds in terms of the US labour shortage crisis. Oh, sorry, I knocked my mic there. And Europe's energy crisis and the focus on trying to get tax cuts through without really thinking about how it would play out in the short term. He said that despite the UK having the lowest corporation tax in the G7, business investment had been low, and that instead of tax cuts, Britain would need to invest in things that drive the long-term growth, such as infrastructure and skills. The health service can either be a drag on growth, or it can boost growth, or if it keeps our workers healthy. Investing in the health system, for example, is a strong positive in that Truss administration would never have considered, because it's politically unpalatable to give more funds to the NHS and to fix it if you need to spend more money. It's things like that that got these blinkers on and narrowed the focus so much on this one thing, and that the silver bullet is going to fix everything. Yeah. The UK has been through a period of austerity. Public services are on their knees, and a complete lack of acknowledgement of where the public sector has a role in growth and misguided view of a role in tax business. Yeah. They're literally public services. The state is on its knees. It's on its effing knees. And where is everyone? Where are they all? You know, like, here's the thing, like, they're screaming. Public services are screaming out for investment. The public are screaming out for investment, and they're not getting any of it. And I generally hope, guys, I really mean this, I generally hope we do not see her back in any kind of power. I think it would just be goddamn awful. And I'm worried that, you know, some people have really short memories, and I'm worried that people will forget about this, and people will look at this trust differently in the future. And that it's very, very scary thought. As of right now, the public really don't want nothing to do with her, but that doesn't mean that she can't come back and cause problems in the future. And it's a very scary thought, to say the least, guys. Just going to end the poll now. The live chat poll on what's Trussonomics ever going to work. Thank you for all who cast their vote. 20 votes on that. 94% of you say no. 5% of you don't know what it is, and nobody voted yes. So people know that it wasn't worth supporting it in any way, shape, or form. The Tufton Street Nutters, think tanks, says Dave McGuinness. Yeah, those nutters, yeah. A business pays less £5 of tax to then spend £20 to sell it. It seems like a good plan, says Jal. If trust was ever an original idea, it would die of loneliness. A 5-volt light bulb, that's malfunctioning, says Sir Larry the Cat. Why is economics so difficult to understand for these people? Like I said, I'm not an economics. But even I could see what was happening. Jal, even I can say, and I'm not an expert in any way whatsoever. What the use of cuts in the business sector? Do you not have seamless access to the largest market nearest you? All profit is eaten away by cost or distance when dealing with the CPT. Something, says Jal. Now, it came from the Tufton Street Nutters, quasi-prolonged package. Yeah. More like, says Larry the Cat. More like deep common souls ideas, says Jal. A huge transfer of wealth. The city had a party. They did have a massive party at the expense of us. The deep date, the new catchword, reminds me of deep something. Trust cannot, says Jal. The trust cannot even look normal. She doesn't even need to open her mouth to do damage. If she was a guy, every party she'd turn up, she would be a sausage fest. Linking wealth to power is the reason why our planet is on the brink of extinction, and I'm not exaggerating, says Jal. No, it's not. No, I absolutely agree with that. The rich grow away the cash in offshore accounts, so nothing trickles down, says Mad Monk. Exactly, doesn't trickle down. Jal says, everyone pays taxes except those who have no income. Societies that have no practice helping each other grow, extinct or wink. It's easy prey for aggressive expansion. Oh, great analogy. Yeah, I mean, that's what it is. Like, they claim the trickle. Yeah, exactly, David. They claim it trickles down, but you only get sorts of cracks that come through. A poorly earned reputation, says one angry pagan. Neoliberalism is an ideology, says Jal. Do the okey wokey in and out and shake it all about the pork market, says Solari the cat. Yep. The insane blonde and the quarter wonder, says Jal. Yeah, Truss is not competent even to write a soap dishwasher commercial, says Jal. Nope, that is pretty much true. Shall we move on from Trussonomics? Let's move on from it, guys. I'll cover. What have I got left? I've got these two. Yeah. Let me make sure I've got the right article. So this next one, guys, is from the Financial Times. This one here from the Financial Times. It's about the water companies and their dividends. So water companies pay £2.5 billion in dividends by 2 years as debt climbs to £8.2 billion. In 32 years since privatisation, £78 billion has been paid out of utilities. £78 billion! £78 billion. My God, £78 billion. It's just, I have no words. £78 billion. Water companies in England and Wales have paid £2.5 billion in dividends and added £8.2 billion to their net debt in the 2 financial years since 2021, according to research by the Financial Times. The updated figure means that the 16 water metropolises have paid out a total of £78 billion in dividends in the 32 years between privatisation in 1991 to March 2023, according to the research, which is based on regulatory data and then adjusted for inflation. The £78 billion payout is nearly half of the $190 billion the company spent in the same 3 decades on infrastructure. The utilities, meanwhile, chalked up more than £64 billion in net in debt over the same period, despite being sold at privatisation with no borrowings. Yeah, no borrowings. Very key point there. No borrowings were made, but yet they still end up with £64 billion in debt, guys. Logic? There is no such logic in all of this. The research comes amidst fears that the financial crisis at the UK's largest water utilities, Thames Water, may spill over to other companies. Its parent company defaulted on debt earlier this month after investors balked at having to plough more money into utilities. Other cost-laden water companies are wrestling with higher financial costs on borrowing, as well as historically steep construction, energy and labour prices. Meanwhile, a political and public outcry has erupted over service quality and pollution. Thames Water is in a carney in a gold mine, said one water company investor. You've got the biggest water company teething on the brink, and we're all watching. It's all the investors are talking about. South East Water, SES Water and Southern Water are all under close watch by regulator Ofwat over their financial stability. Southern Water was rescued from the brink of bankruptcy after Ofwat brokered a deal with Australian infrastructure manager Marquis in 2021. But the utility was forced to suspend external dividends until at least 2025 following a credit rating downgrade last year. See, all this crap could have been avoided, guys. All this crap could have been avoided if we just left it in the state hands. We're trying to monopolise, the water companies. I just don't understand how we as taxpayers, how we are benefiting this. Like, I struggle to understand the benefits of water companies being in the hand of private businesses. Something that we literally need to survive is not in our own hands. Here in England, it's not in our own hands. In Scotland, it's in your own hands. But here in England, no. Our water, we don't own it. Who is dumb enough to sell their own water? And here's the best part. No one wants to put it back into state hands. Except the Green Party. They're the ones who actually have their common sense hat on. Investors' jitter come as Ofwat is pushing them to inject more cash into the utilities. It's not clear whether investors, which include sovereign wealth funds, private equity funds and pension funds, will play ball. Few equity injections have been made since privatisation. Thames Water, for example, have received no new equities since privatisation. It received £500 million in the form of loans, bearing 8% increase from its parent country, Keble. It's just not the model they're used to, said Adam Lever, Professor of Accountability at Sheffield University. They invested in a company that they thought would use borrowed money. They weren't expected to inject cash of their own. Now the companies have too much debt, they haven't invested enough in infrastructure, and some of that more recent shareholders are screwed. Yeah, really should not put your money in a water company, really. But there you go. There you go, guys. It's really, really infuriating. Oh, there's a little bit. Actually, I missed some, guys. There's a little bit more here. Actually, there's a few graphs here, actually. Since privatisation, Britain's water companies have paid £78 billion in dividends, nearly half of the £190 billion invested in infrastructure here. So this is a source of what here. So 2023 for the 16 regular water companies in England and Wales, dividends and culmination there since 1991. Yeah. Look at that, gone up. I think there was another graph down here. Thames Water has accumulated nearly £15 billion in net debt since privatisation. This is sourced from Ofwat. Net debt for the 10 water companies and wastewater companies in England and Wales, £1 billion in Thames Water owned by Marquis. You can see that that's in blue, Thames Water, and then in grey is the other water and wastewater companies there. And you can see pretty much since 2007 onwards, they've marketed more than any other company there. But yeah, that's the situation since the privatisation there. Why did we leave? Why have we not reversed this? I just don't understand why neither Conservatives nor Labour have not put this back into our hands. It's just insane to me. It really is insane to me that we are in this situation, and it should not have happened in the first place, guys. We should never have privatised our water company. We've said this before, and we said this again. But like all that dividends and shareholders and what, and I'm just like, can we just leave the debts with these companies and just give us back our goddamn water? You know, that's how I want to put it. But it's not as simple as that apparent to some people anyway. Number 3, good to see you there, buddy. Hope you're doing well. Our constitution is crap. We don't really have a constitution, to be fair. Who's off? And no worries, Andrew Luke. Thanks for popping by. I greatly appreciate it. I potentially feel sorry for the reintroduction of beavers in England. Yeah, it's not a very good time for beavers in considering the water here. Private companies are okay in the context of competition, but are bad news otherwise. Yeah. What are the levels of fiscal matters in the waters of England? Not 100% sure right now, but they can't be good. No public utility should be privatised, says Sir Larry the Cat. I agree with that. Thank Fook. Scottish water is in public hands. Yep, true, Dave McGuinness. I've got safe, clean drinking water up there. Yeah, make me feel better. What level of crawling hormones and medicine in the water in England? I don't want to know, Jowl. Paying them to pump sewage in your rivers and sea is an important detail, folks, and one me, if I was a UK taxpayer, would be questioning. Yeah, we should be rioting, but we don't riot. We don't riot. We moan online. Now, I mean, we do the odd protest here and there, but they're not really difference makers, are they? Hold on, I thought Welsh Water was not profit for companies. So where do the shareholders come into this? Some of the, well, you have to remember that there is obviously there is privatisation in the Welsh water companies as well. But I know there are some schemes by some Welsh politicians that are kind of making local waters. I know I've covered in the back that have covered like small back little things. I can't remember. There was a story I covered ages ago regarding Welsh waters, where they actually had a way of actually keeping it clean. I can't remember what it was off the top of my head. But they are kind of in a similar situation as England is, but it's not as bad as it is in England. £78 billion in profits, and Thames Water want to increase bills by 40% for the infrastructure improvements that they never did. Exactly. Exactly, Sir Larry. I played Turner sugar grape, sour grape today. Should be ready in time. The UK needs food aid, says Simon says 55. Yeah. When Labour win, we need to keep telling how vile the Tories were. 20 generations need to know, says Andrew Luke. Yep. The truth is both major parties are paid by the richest to continue their transfer of wealth from the poor to the rich. Indeed, there is. I won't be. There is. I have found a interesting story. I'll tell you guys now before. I don't know if I won't cover the full last article just because of the time, but I'll tell you guys. I've come across an article that I will be covering at some point. From apparently Labour have accepted like over 150,000 donations from a certain person or organisation. I'll have that video in a couple of days' time for you guys, so keep an eye out for it. Just one more story we'll just look at. We're not going to cover it in full, but it's regarding migration. Obviously, much of the talk this week is obviously on the Rwanda bill. We know that's going to be one of the topics of discussion. I know obviously the talk is obviously about Iran and the attack happening over there. And I will cover some of that context on the World's News Round tomorrow, as well as probably cover some more context from UK's perspective on the Snowflake Watch on Wednesday. So didn't want to cover too much of it today. But this one from the Telegraph, more than 500 migrants crossed the channel on Sunday in a record daily high. Figures show 534 people reached the UK, bringing a total for this year to 6,265, up 28% on the same point last year. Over 500, Ollie. 500. That's insane, isn't it? Yeah, he's not in a good mood today. You know, he's not in a good mood. He's not been able to have a fag. He's been upset talking about what's happening with Sudan. You know, and some of the other stories we've been talking about. He's been in a grumpy mood today, Ollie. He's in a real grumpy mood today. Let's have a little read before we wrap things up. So more than 500 migrants crossed the channel on Sunday, a new record high this year, Home Office figures show. Figures reveal that 534 people reached the UK on Sunday, bringing the total for this year to 6,265, up 28% on the same point last year. The number crossing the channel so far this year are the highest on record, beating 2022's total of 5,828 on the same point by 7%. The surge in crossings come despite a 3-year, 418 million Agro-French deal agreed by Mr. Sunak last year to pay for a doubling in officers patrolling French beaches to 800, a joint command centre and a detention centre to prevent migrants leaving France. It coincides with Parliament resuming the voting on the government's controversial Safety of Rwanda bill on Monday as MPs return to the Commons. Ministers believe that the bill will be passed by Parliament at the end of this week with the aim to get the first flights off to Rwanda this spring. Yeah, we're still waiting for the flights on that, guys. This, for those who haven't seen it, is the record start this year to channel crossings, culminating migrant crossings in the first 3 months of the year. This is from the Home Office's data here. So you can see there, obviously, we're in 2024. As you can see, we're already doing way worse this year than we are compared to the other ones. So I'm sure the Reformer will definitely be rubbing their hands over this. Prime Minister's official spokesperson said the surge in migrants demonstrate why Parliament needed to pass the bill in order to provide a deterrent to stop the boats. It is an unacceptable number of people who continue to cross the channel. It demonstrates exactly why we must pass the bill and get the flights off as soon as possible, said the spokesperson. Some 10 boats were detected on Sunday, suggesting that the average of around 53 migrants per boat were brought ashore by Border Force and Rescue Services. The increase in crossings reversed the trend last year when the number fell by 36% from a record high of 45,774 in 2022 to 29,437. Downing Street has acknowledged that there has been an increase in the numbers of crossing, but has said that the weather combined with more violence by people smuggling gangs was behind the rise. We know that criminal gangs will seek to exploit opportunities and weather, and we know that the French police are facing increasing violence and disruption on the ground in the French beaches, said the spokesperson. Do you have any evidence to support that, or are you just saying that just to looking to distract people? We need to keep stepping up our efforts to adapting to the gangs who continuously adopting their own tactics, but that's why, alongside continuing our work, we have to fundamentally break up the business model, and that's what the Rwanda partnership will do. The government's Rwanda bill, a key plank of Mr. Sunak's key pledge to stop the boats, was delayed until after the Easter recess following a series of heavy defeats inflicted on the government by the Lords. MPs are expected to reject all 7 amendments backed by peers before sending it back to the considered by the upper house on Tuesday. Labour and crossbench peers are expected to seek a reinstating for at least 3 or 4 amendments to force a second round of parliamentary ping-pong. Bear in mind, this is a Telegraph autograph, so take it with a pinch of salt, of course, guys. So, because that is a Telegraph one there, for those who are wondering. How did I get that? Oh, I have my ways. But yeah, that was from the Telegraph, guys. So I'd probably say those numbers are probably accurate, but you have to be careful with certain articles from certain newspapers, obviously, guys. But yeah, more migrants crossing. I mean, I obviously I have a lot of subscribers on my channel who think that the country is full. When we still have lots and lots of vacancies in the country, which is kind of odd. So I just don't see how you add the two together there. But there, hey ho, there you go. What are you guys saying on this, guys? Labour is too much Tory for my liking, says number 3. Okay, that's a good one. And Labour's planning for the migrants to open safe routes to work more closely with the global community. I hope so, One Angry Pagan. I hope so, buddy. I hope so. Giles says, if the French find a dinghy and people say we want to go to the UK, according to international law, they accompany the dinghy, notify the UK authorities and give the migrants to the UK authorities. Yeah, let's not tell Nigel Farage and GB News that. They will run on that story. And so when the weather improves, the number of boats arriving increases, and during weather it decreases, Tories have claimed credit for the decreases, says Steve. Yes, it wasn't the weather, it was us. It was us and our work. Of course it was that. Of course it was. Interesting fact, the water was gifted to the Scottish people by James VI of Scotland and First of England as a joke, and that's why Scottish waters is in public hands, says David. Thanks for that information. Interesting. An interesting bit of history there. Yeah, interesting stuff. Yeah. So, guys, we first, before we wrap things up, I've got one more funny video for you guys before we wrap things up. So I hope you guys enjoy this little funny video, guys. Apparently, Boris Johnson is coming back, and we're getting the full story from this man right here. Take it away, Matt. Take it away.
Former Prime Minister and indiscriminate sperm distributor Boris Johnson appeared at events in America and Canada this week, where he hinted at a return to politics. Our comebacks, rebounds, and oh god not him again correspondent Jonathan Goodenough has more. Yes, that's right. As the local elections campaign heats up like a frozen chicken over a candle, the last Prime Minister but one was back on stage to remind us what we've all been missing. And what's that? A deliberately scruffy man who thinks that using deliberately bad French is funny. What did he say? Donnez-moi un break. Zoota law. But what did he say about coming back? He said he might run for election again, but only if he felt like he had something useful to contribute. Such as? Well, unless it's a well-worn after-dinner speech or a few half-hearted columns, it's hard to know. What's his attitude to Donald Trump these days? I think that could generously be described as complicated, and ungenerously, confused. In what sense? Well, Johnson criticised Trump's election denial, but said he hoped he would be more pro-Ukraine in office than he might currently appear. This despite the fact that Republicans loyal to Trump in Congress are blocking all aid to Ukraine at the moment. Yes, Johnson seems to think that Trump would change his mind in office and take on Putin, which seems about as likely as Johnson taking on a stylist. What did he say about Britain? He described Rishi Sunak's proposal to ban smoking as absolutely nuts, saying that the party of Winston Churchill should not be outlawing cigars. Johnson's modelled himself on Churchill, hasn't he? Yes, he even wrote a book about him, which several critics described as published. Is there any comparison? Well, they were both prime ministers during a time of national crisis in which loads of people died. True. Although it seems unlikely that there will ever be a statue of Boris Johnson in Parliament Square, except perhaps as some sort of warning. So do you think that Boris Johnson will return to politics? Well, I'd like to say that an unpopular and disgraced politician who was ejected by his own party for repeated and flagrant dishonesty would have absolutely no chance of a return to frontline politics, sure. But everything's been so mad over the last few years that he'll probably be back in Downing Street by the end of the decade. Thank you, Jonathan. Next up, as Keir Starmer confirms that unlike Jeremy Corbyn, he would push the nuclear button, we ask, will this commitment to mutually assured destruction and a hypothetical willingness to kill millions of people help shore up support in the Red Wall? And what does it say about this country that the answer is probably yes?
Why does Keir Starmer want to push the big red button? Why? Why would you want to push the big red button? No. Yeah, you know what? The two Davies were talking about this earlier, about Keir Starmer having his finger on the buzzer. And the first thing that comes to my mind was, how come Trump didn't push the big red button when he was made president? We dodged a bullet there. But apparently, there's a possibility he may push that button there. I mean, I like, for me, like I really don't think we need to invest more in nuclear deterrence. I really don't think we need to. I've got an actual story on Patreon coming up this week, guys, about the Labour are committed to investing 2.5% on defence GDP, and in the article he stated that he's going to that they're going to invest more in nuclear rearmament. And I was just thinking, why not just leave it as it is and invest in other places? Like why do we need more? Like, seriously. Aki's man, good to see you right at the end here as well. Good, coming at just the wrong, as we're coming to an end here. And I saw somebody had just woken up as well. Yes, somebody did just wake up as well. Good to see Satru as well. So, unfortunately, we have reached the end of Regan's News Round. We've gone very, very long today, guys. A mixed bag today, that's for sure. Ollie's not been in a good mood all day, guys. Hopefully, Ollie will be in a better mood tomorrow with the World's News Round, or on the Snowflake Watch. So, just a reminder, guys, just before we wrap things up, tomorrow, 7 p.m, I'll be premiering the World's News Round. We're covering news stories from outside the UK. Come and join me in the chat, live chat for there. If you guys want to come and hang out, you're more than welcome to do so. Wednesday is a very busy day for me. So we have Prime Minister's Questions back at 12 o'clock. So if you guys want to come and hang out with me, watching along Prime Minister's Questions and giving our responses respectively, you're more than welcome to join me there on Prime Minister's Questions. So that'll be 12 o'clock noon UK time. And I'll be back again later on that day in the evening for the Snowflake Watch with another episode of that. So we'll be covering, obviously, many things there. Thursday, we will have, once again, the Regan's News Round. So be sure, I know you guys really like the Regan's News Round, so feel free to come and hang out with me there. The premiere will be dropping 8 o'clock there. And then on Friday, we will have the Snowflakes Corner, which will be live this week. I do have plans on the weekend, believe it or not, but I'm actually going to be here Friday evening, so actually I could live stream for you guys on that one. So I will be here then. I may only do one premiere this weekend. I might not do both Saturday and Sunday. We'll see how it goes. Depends on how much content I get done. Obviously, it's been very busy today, so I will have some. I've got some bits to do, a lot to do tomorrow as well. But we'll see how things go anyway. But I just want to say thank you to everybody who's come here today. Thank you for all your comments and thoughts. Even if you've only just popped in, that's fine. If you guys want to come and join me on the Discord for an after chat, for a wee chat for a little bit, you're more than welcome to. My voice is cracking up a little bit, so you guys will have to do most of the talking for me. I will join you shortly. The link for Discord is in the description. Someone could put a link in the chat. That would be greatly appreciated as well. But just before you go, guys, if you weren't here at the start of the show, I actually created another scroll bar. So you see this one down here. Well, there's going to be one popping up just here as we head our way out, guys. And just keep your eye out. If you happen to be a YouTube member, you might just find your name crossing along there. So before you go, guys, if you haven't already, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share this across social media so others are notified of this video. And subscribe, because it really does help support the channel. And if you want to go one step further and financially support me in the work that I do here, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p. Or join me on Rumble or Patreon for exclusive content there as well. So thank you all so much for watching, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.